How often do you find yourself getting stressed or frustrated or just worked up in general about things that are going on in your business? I know that this can be an incredibly stressful time of year. Let's face it, running your own business is challenging throughout the year. But then we get to this stage in the year where there is an expectation or assumption that you're going to put down the business so that you've got plenty of time to spend with family and friends. So there's all that pressure to get lots of things done by the deadline. So with that in mind, I wanted to share with you a little story of something that happened in my own business recently that could actually have been quite a source of stress if I'd had allowed it to be. And then also share with you some of the ways that actually I help my clients to handle their frustrations and stop things getting a little bit out of hand, so they're really more able to actually take things in your stride and feel a lot calmer about everything. So about 10 days ago, I ran my quarterly business planning workshop, and we had tried a new venue. So my previous venue has actually closed, which was quite frustrating, funnily enough. So we tried a new venue. Everything was looking fabulous. The room was great. The team were great. So the room was set up beautifully and I was really, really happy with it. And the morning went fantastically. They put out a fabulous breakfast spread. Perfect. But then what happened after that is throughout the day, not a single serving of tea, coffee, water or lunch was served on time at all. For every single one, I had to break out of the workshop where I'm teaching and actually go and ask for things to be delivered, and even had to go and ask for them to clear away the dirty plates from lunch. Now, the interesting thing about this is that later on, one of my clients actually said to me that there was a discussion going on about how fast they thought I was likely to lose it with the team there. And this fascinated me because it actually had never crossed my mind at all during the course of the day to get annoyed about this. I did feel frustrated about it, and it certainly meant that the day did not run quite as smoothly and super slick as I would have liked it to. But at the same time, for me to get annoyed about that would probably have put the staff's nose out of joint, and potentially I'd have got a worse service. But it also would not have made me look brilliant to my clients. And it would have brought that air of frustration into that room and potentially risked then everybody in the room feeling a little bit anxious and annoyed about this catering setup. So my approach was very much that I was very calm about it. I made a couple of comments about it being a little frustrating because it was very, very clear what was happening. The clients knew that the service was not what it should be, but there was no kind of stress or annoyance on my part whatsoever. And basically because I'm thinking about the big picture, that stress doesn't make me look good to my clients or to the venue, but it actually doesn't help get anything resolved. So for me, the key focus is, what do I want to happen here and what's the best way to achieve that? So that brings me on to some tips about how to respond to frustrating or stressful situations and what kind of tools you can use to stay a lot calmer and be the person that's still in control and driving that situation rather than getting annoyed or het up about it. So the first thing to bear in mind is no matter what those circumstances, you've always got a choice about how to respond. We can't control what our customers do, what the economy does, what the general election does. We can't control all that stuff that's going on and that is impacting our business. But we absolutely always have a choice about how we respond to that. Now, don't get me wrong, changing our natural responses is not an easy thing to do. These are responses that we have built up throughout our life. They are instincts that we have learned throughout our upbringing, our education, our whole working and business career. So to just decide to change the way you react to situations is absolutely not an overnight thing. But what you can do just to get started is take a breath. When something is really frustrating or stressing you, just take a breath and think about, how would I choose to respond to this? And just try and kind of calm yourself a little bit, stay level-headed and choose a slightly better response. So that's the first one. Bear in mind, you always have a choice about how to respond. Now, what I would say is that to really change those responses to the point where you constantly respond in a very calm and stress-free way is probably actually somewhere between a 12 months and a 2-year process. So I'm not suggesting that you can just do this and change the person you are overnight, but it is actually something that you can change very gradually over time, and it is very worthwhile putting that effort in. The second tip is to, again, just pull back and think to yourself, what's the outcome that I want to achieve here, and what is the best way to gain that? Because more often than not, stress, anxiety, frustration, annoyance, arguing, or any of those things will not actually get you closer to the outcome that you want. They probably will take you further away from it. So just take that step back and ask yourself, what's the outcome that I want to achieve here, and what is the best way for me to get there? And then the third thing is a strange little technique, and I don't actually remember where I picked this up from, but this has massively helped some of my clients, particularly the ones who really do suffer with anxiety or stress. And it's a little technique that says you have to imagine that as you go through life, you have a little string of worry beads that you carry with you. But there are only 100 beads on this string, and this string has to last you for your entire life. So when something really frustrates you, just ask yourself, is this worth one of my 100 beads? And it's an amazing little technique that can really help you put things back into perspective and realise that very often we get stressed about things that actually in the big picture are just not that huge. So those are my 3 tips over this joyous festive period to help you manage the stress and the frustration and the pressures, to just keep yourself more calm, more cool, and feel like things are going your way. So remember that you always have a choice about how to respond. Ask yourself, what's the outcome I want to achieve, and what's the best way for me to get there? And finally, if you need to, ask yourself, is this worth one of my 100 lifetime supply of worry beads? And hopefully that will help you feel much more chilled out. So I hope that's given you some tips and ideas. If you put any of these into practice, I would absolutely love to hear about that. I would also love you to like and comment below if you have enjoyed this video. Of course, feel free to subscribe. That would be ace. And if there's anybody else who you think would benefit from this video, then please feel free to share. Thank you.